Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping the new format is working out for you all. How are you finding it? It is definitely working out better for me. It's brilliant being one episode ahead. It basically relieves all of the fuck. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So, how's the new format working out for you? I'm hoping I won't have to mess about with it anymore. Hopefully, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Well, hopefully the new format is working out better for you. It's certainly suiting me a lot better. I fucking hell. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Fourth take, and there ain't going to be a fifth. If this one goes wrong, I'm just going to leave it running. It's driving me nuts this morning. The new format, guys, how are you finding it? I mean, I find it a lot better posting one on a Saturday and one on a Sunday. It's so much easier, and it must be better for you guys as well. Rather than having one episode that drops maybe 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and maybe it's going to be 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock at night. So much pressure has been lifted by being able to record a few days ahead and not worrying about how long it's taking to process, how long it's taking to upload to YouTube. I can sort of upload it a few days before, and it actually doesn't matter how long it takes. And that is a massive relief, especially after the disaster that sort of happened a couple of weeks ago, and it was just taking forever, and it's happened before. So this way I think is a lot better. But how's it working out for you guys? I set them to drop at 8 o'clock in the morning. Would you prefer them later? I mean, tell me. I don't mind scheduling them for 9, 10, 11 o'clock or whatever. I schedule for 8 o'clock for no other reason than it will give you something to watch when you wake up. But maybe you prefer something in the middle of the day, I don't know. But it'd be a shame in a way to mess with it again. But if you prefer it later, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do on that one. So hope you're all, I hope you've all had a good week. I asked for lots of questions for this particular video, so that I could basically record it ahead of time and get it, as I say, scheduled for next Saturday. And you've all done me proud. You've sent me loads of comments, loads of questions. It's been brilliant. It's taken me about half an hour to work the scripts out for this lot, so hopefully it should nicely sort of drag out to half an hour or thereabouts. So thanks ever so much, guys. You've done me proud with that one. I'll start with comments on the last video. Guy, you put great stuff, mate. It was a bit strange watching it so early, but I'm not complaining. Watching big screen Tony time while he explains the new schedule. My hangover isn't helping to understand it. I didn't have a hangover. I had a perfectly clear head, and even I didn't understand it, so you got no chance. Just know that it is easier for me to record ahead of time, like you and Callie do. I'm guessing that you don't record on a day and then upload it straight away. There's editing to do and all those bits and pieces. So if anybody can appreciate it, you can. But as for the explanation that I gave last week as to how it was going to work, even I didn't understand it by the end of it. My head was just fucked. So you have no chance with that, but appreciate that, mate. Much appreciated. Mark, yeah, got up at 7:45, sat down, and holy shit, we've got a Tony time video. Marvellous. Thanks, Mark. Much appreciated. You obviously like it the way it is, so I think I'm going to keep it that way unless I get loads of comments saying, no, we want it dinner time. We'll see how we go. But you certainly like it, so I was really pleased with that. Chris, cracking vid. Enjoy a Saturday morning to... I said I wasn't going to start again. Fuck it, I'm not going to do it. Cracking vid. Enjoy a Saturday viewing to help with the hangover. I'm a hangover cure, that's good. I have a question and I need help. What should I do with my 850 Blu-rays? They're currently in storage, have been for months. I have 2 digital backups of them, and as I've mentioned before, I would love to get them out on display once I have the room, but not sure when or if that will be. I only purchased 4Ks now, so this collection won't grow. Oh, help me, Obi-Wan. Well, young Skywalker, you've had some replies to that one. I'll come to them in a second. I don't know what to suggest because I've got the same problem. I've got most of my Blu-rays and DVDs not on shelves but in plastic containers up in the back bedroom. I've shown them off before, and I would love to get them all on display. And it's going to happen at some point. My other problem is I have got some bookcases that I did display them on. Problem is my dog is terrified of fireworks, and the first thing she does when she hears a firework go off is to make for the DVD shelf, start dragging them off and chewing them. So I had to take basically the first 2 or 3 shelves off and put them into storage boxes so she can't get at them. But I've already come up with an idea to combat that, so hopefully I can get them put back onto shelves again sometime over the next probably few weeks. But I'll show you what that is when I've actually got it and see what you guys think. Let's see. You put, Chris, I knew someone years ago turned his garage into a mini cinema. He had 2 2-seater sofas in there, a fridge, snack shelf. The side and back walls was just shelving. His garage door had the big TV on. It was amazing. He had about 1,000 DVDs and they had only just come out over here. That must have been a sight to see. I mean, I would love to do that now. As you know, my back bedroom is destined at some point to become a kind of a cinema room at some point, but it won't be yet. This is in the future. But yeah, I'd have loved to have seen that. Jason, you replied to Chris, you need to get rid of your wives, guys. That's a very practical solution, Jason. I like that one. My wife buys me Blu-rays and stuff for my man cave. You want to see the couple of beauties she's found me the other day and ordered for me? I'll reveal those on October the 1st, Halloween month. I look forward to seeing what they are, Jace. Are you going to do a video or just a photo? Do a video, dude. We want to see more videos from you. Chris, you said I'd starve. Glad to see you got your priorities straight there, Chris. She gets me 4Ks and has bought storage for these, but the Blu-rays are a struggle for her. I might just use her wardrobe with extra shelves. That is actually not a bad idea. I've got 2 wardrobes, and to be honest, I'm not one for having drawers and wardrobes full of clothes. So once I've cleared the wardrobe out, it will probably, yeah, that's an excellent. I quite like that one. I'll give that some thought. Let's see. Yeah, that'll be a nice shot for her to see when she goes for a frock one night. Well, you're not going to warn her then, you're just going to let her walk into that one. Nice one, Chris. Thanks for that, dude. Jason Kerr, Ginger Ninja. After watching the latest Calico Productions video on The Crow, it got me thinking about how good the soundtrack is. The 90s had the best soundtracks in my humble opinion. Mortal Kombat, The Faculty, The Crow, Hackers, to name just a few. What are your thoughts on the best decade for movie soundtracks? The best decade. If I show you some of my CD soundtracks, I've probably shown you these before, but I will do this now. Just bear with me while I just drag them across. My favourite decade, as you will see now, is the 70s, as far as soundtracks go. Just because I've got more soundtracks from the 70s than any other decade. I did buy a few 80s ones way back in the 80s. But I can't find them. I know I've got them somewhere, but they're in an ottoman somewhere and I need to find them. But if I just go through some of my favourite ones, start with the 60s. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is my favourite Bond soundtrack. I absolutely love this. I will usually have this in the car once a year and listen to it for a week and then take it back. But this is my favourite Bond soundtrack, absolutely. This is an unusual one. You wouldn't have thought they'd have released a soundtrack CD of this, because it is actually only about probably 18 minutes long, max. Kez. I just love the music from it. Very sort of rural, very Yorkshire. It suited the movie perfectly. And when I saw this, even though it was only sort of 18 minutes long, I thought, I'm going to have that. That's another 60s classic. Probably one of my favourite soundtracks ever and it happens to be from the 60s, Barbarella. I love the movie. I love the soundtrack. It is 60s, trippy, funky. It's just great. Most of it's by sort of a 60s outfit called the Bob Crew Generation. And they did a lot of really sort of brilliant soundtracks. That is easily one of my favourite soundtracks ever, let alone of the 60s. And another one, The Italian Job, the original Italian Job. What a soundtrack. I mean, there's no point in going over these too much. On Days Like These, which is a song by Matt Monro, which is synonymous with The Italian Job. But you've also got the classic It's Caper Time. I'm going to put some of these on either Movie Zone or Retro Movie Zone, Music Zone or Movie Zone, because this soundtrack definitely needs to be recognised. I love that one. Now, on to the 70s. I'll get rid of the obvious ones first because you know what's coming with the 70s. First one is Close Encounters. The reason I love this so much is because I loved the movie. The movie basically persuaded me to buy my first ever telescope, which I installed in my dad's shed. Pointed it out of the window and used to spend hours up there just looking at the moon, looking at the stars, with this playing in the background. It basically took me to another world for a couple of hours. And I'd be up there in all weathers. It was absolutely brilliant. I do miss those days, I really do. So that's one reason I love the Close Encounters soundtrack. Absolutely brilliant. And Saturday Night Fever, you knew this was coming. Just the quintessential 70s movie soundtrack. I talked about this the other week when me and Gareth were sort of talking about which was your favourite track, and I think he said Fifth of Beethoven, which is superb, and I went for Manhattan Skyline, which is also superb. Both instrumentals, neither of them Bee Gees songs, but even so, there are some classic tracks on this. Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever, More Than a Woman, loads, Jive Talking, Disco Inferno, The Tramps. Superb soundtrack to a superb movie. Another 70s, ABBA the album. Still remember very vividly queuing outside the Odeon to watch this. I got there fairly early, so I was probably about 10 metres down the queue. The queue actually went round the back of the Odeon and halfway down High Street. It was just phenomenal and an amazing movie. It's nothing special. When you watch it now, it's fairly sort of pedestrian, sort of normal. It's just a nice little musical film with a cracking soundtrack. And this is the soundtrack. So it's a movie that I do need to take in again. I bought it on Blu-ray fairly recently, and I do need to take that one in again. So I'll have a go at that. Clockwork Orange. As soon as the opening bars of this open up, you know exactly what movie you're watching. This is, to me, one of Kubrick's best, alongside 2001 and obviously The Shining. But if I had to pick one out of the three, I would choose this one, and this one has definitely got the best soundtrack. And oh no, not finally for the 70s, we're not quite there yet. Tommy. Now this was obviously the Who's rock opera, turned into a movie which starred, let's see, Roger Daltrey, Jack Nicholson was in this. Who else is in there? Keith Moon. Pretty much all of the Who were in there, and Margaret, Oliver Reed, the legendary Oliver Reed. Let's see, Elton John as the Pinball Wizard. This is a brilliant soundtrack to a cracking movie. The first time I saw this was at the cinema. It would have been about 1976, 77. It was a AA certificate, so it was over 14s only. And I must admit, I watched it the first time and thought I didn't really like that much. Watched it again on VHS, liked it a bit more. Watched it on DVD, liked it a lot more, and then bought it on Blu-ray and absolutely adored it. So I've now seen this upward of 10 times. A brilliant soundtrack, some cracking tracks on this. Obviously, Pinball Wizard, all that sort of stuff. Brilliant. And a little known movie. I don't know whether you'll have heard of this, Harold and Maude. It's basically about the relationship between a teenage lad and a very old lady, played by the wonderful Ruth Gordon. He's got an obsession with suicide and death. she's got an obsession with going to other people's funerals. It sounds weird, and it is, but it's a brilliant movie, and it's got the most amazing Cat Stevens soundtrack, which if you've not heard it, I would highly recommend this. This actual version of the soundtrack, I think it's a gatefold sleeve. There we go. Yeah, I think you've got sort of like a little book explaining bits and pieces about the movie. It's a cracking little soundtrack. It's also got excerpts of dialogue from the movie in this, which give you a good flavour of the film if you've never seen it before. But if you've never seen Harold and Maude, I 100% recommend it. It's just a completely off-the-wall, early 70s comedy. This would have been about 1971. If you've not seen it, highly recommend it. And the final, oh no, it's not the final sentence, we've got one more yet. Slade in Flame. This is the one that Kermo calls the Citizen Kane of pop movies. And it's easy to see why. It's got a real gritty atmosphere to it. Superb movie. Slade basically play themselves. And it's just an expose of the music industry as it was way back in 1974. Not a nice place to be. But the movie is brilliant. The soundtrack is superb. This is crying out for a Blu-ray release. Absolutely crying out for it. This is the CD soundtrack, but you also get in this, and this is quite rare now. You got the movie in there as well, but on DVD. So, which is superb. But anybody watching this that does these things, go for a Blu-ray release with this, because obviously it will sell really well, I promise you. And the last one from the 70s. This I used to listen to every week on Radio 1 in 1977. This is the original radio drama. I think it's in about 13 episodes, and this is on 7 discs. This isn't out of the cellophane yet, and I've had this for years. And I keep meaning to listen to it. It's just basically a reenactment of the original Star Wars with, has it got the original cast? Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker and Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. As for the rest of them, I don't know. But I do need to listen to this. I had all of these on cassette at one time. I used to tape them off the radio. I think it was on lunch times, if I remember right, during the week. But a cracking radio drama. That's a rare one now. I haven't managed to get The Empire Strikes Back or The Return of the Jedi. They really are rare and are going for stupid prices, so I've not bothered with those. And finally, yes, there is a glaringly obvious hole in this with the 80s, but as I say, most of the 80s soundtracks I had are on vinyl, and they're upstairs somewhere, so I will rescue them out sometime and show you those. But the 90s, Chaplin. This is John Barry's score for the Robert Downey Jr. drama Chaplin, based on the life of Charlie Chaplin. Gorgeous score. Everything John Barry does is beautiful, so I really like that one. Sleepless in Seattle. I bought the soundtrack before I saw the movie. A couple of the guys I used to work with in the 90s went to see this with their girlfriends at Burton Odeon. Came into work the next day and said, my God, the soundtrack to that movie is so up your street. It's all old classics like sort of Dean Martin, sort of the Frank Sinatra type stuff. He says, the stuff that you love. So I went and bought the soundtrack, loved it, then went and saw the movie and absolutely adored it. It's probably one of the few rom-coms that I've watched and really, really enjoyed. I'm not really a rom-com person, but if I had to pick one, it would definitely be that one. And finally, Mr. Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs. Cracking soundtrack. You've got excerpts of dialogue in this. You've got songs in this that I had never heard of until I saw the movie. Little Green Bag was one of them. There's so many. I need to go through this again and have another listen. I haven't listened to this for years, but the movie's great and the soundtrack is superb. So that is my thoughts on soundtracks, which I think comes up a little bit later as well. Let's bear with me a second. Best decade for soundtracks, that's you. Yeah, so thanks for that, Jace. That was a cracking question. You also put, hate to say it, but I have never seen Witchfinder General. I will make an effort to find it and watch it though. I do enjoy and grew up watching a lot of the classic Hammer horror films, as well as the original monster movies, Dracula, Frankenstein, etc. So I'm sure I will enjoy it. Jason, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. You being a bit of a horror aficionado, I honestly thought you'd have seen this by now. It's from 1969 or 8, directed by Michael Reeves. He died young. I think he only directed about 3-4 movies and they're all good. But Witchfinder General is definitely the pinnacle of his career. Vincent Price as Matthew Hopkins, the legendary Witchfinder from the 16th century. It was superb. As I've said in the reply to the post that you put on, it had a lot of problems with the censors when it first came out due to its violence and the torture scenes and all that sort of thing. But it is just so worth watching. I've seen it so many times, and even now some of the violence is hard to stomach in it. So God knows what it must have been like over 50 years ago when it first came out. But I can imagine the BBFC looking at that saying, that can't go, no, we can't have, oh God, no, you can't have that either. So yeah, you do need to watch that one, definitely. So shove Witchfinder General to the top of your priority list. For me, have a watch and then do a little video and let me know what you think. But I pretty much know what you think. So right, Jason P, questions, eh? Here's one for you that myself and the wife have just spoke about regarding finding out about movies in the 80s via newspaper adverts with having no internet back then. Well, how about when we used to watch all the trailers on a VHS video and watch them again because you didn't know it existed and was excited about the movie, even though it never came with a release date? It's true. The problem is nowadays, as I think somebody else says a little bit later, that trailers drop sort of a year before the movie comes out. And the thing is, there's been publicity surrounding them before that as well. So you're sort of ready for the trailers. Back then, as you say, you put a VHS tape on and you would get these trailers of movies that you'd never heard of. And it's like, obviously the title didn't come up to the end and you'd be watching it thinking, fuck, I've got to watch this, whatever it is. And then you see the title and you think, I've never heard of that. And then you'd watch it again and again and again. So yeah, I absolutely get that. Trailers were great. Nowadays, if we get them on a film I'm about to watch, I just skip them. We've seen all the trailers before, about 6 months previous, so no need to watch them again. This is what I mean. And this is what, obviously, what you meant is that they show too much, far too much. So yeah, I get that. Guy, you replied, oh, I love the trailers on VHS rentals. You're right about trailers these days. They come out too soon these days. And in my opinion, they show too much of the film. 80s trailers were succinct and didn't spoil too much of the films. Question for Tony. When are you going to watch Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes? And don't fob us off. You're not a politician. Give us a definite answer. Oh, for Christ's sakes. Right, okay. Here we go. Where are we? Complete series. There you go. Blu-ray Series 1. Blu-ray Season 2. I'm going to put these by the TV set. TV set. I've gone back to the 60s. I'm going to put these by the side of the television so that the next thing I watch, aside from Doctor Who, will be Life on Mars. I can't give you a definite answer as to when, but it will be the next thing that I watch because it will basically sit there until I do watch it. So I will be watching Life on Mars. I haven't got Ashes to Ashes, but I think it's streaming on one of the channels, so I will be taking a look at that. Really looking forward to the favourite TV thread, Jace. I can't wait for this to start. I think I'm even more excited about this than the movie ones that you do. TV shows, they basically drew us all in over the decades, and you do have such fond memories of some of these programmes. I can't wait to see which ones you picked. And I got hold of this yesterday while shopping in WH Smith. I saw this, $6.99. It's actually not bad. I thought this was going to be about a tenner, but it's the top 100 TV shows of all time, and I'll be very curious to see how many of these you come up with. I mean, it's a wonderful magazine. It's quite thick as well. You've got all sorts in here. Look, spot some. There's even an article on the Wicker Man at 50 years old, which I'm really looking forward to having a read of. So. Yeah, that TV thread, I can't wait for that. That is going to be awesome. Right, let's see. Mark, question. Whilst filming Tony Time, will you ever take a sip of that brew? Oh, for Christ's sakes. Right, okay, Mark, here we go. It's cold now. Have another. There you go. Happy now? That's you, sorted. Steve Mack, soundtracks. Maurice Jarre's Lawrence of Arabia. Can't fault that. Absolutely superb. Alien, Jerry Goldsmith, another one, superb. The Social Network, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I can't say I've heard of it, to be honest, Steve. That's a new one on me. Reality TV, no interest whatsoever. Yeah, there's going to be a rant about that very, very shortly. Not on this one, but probably on the next one. I'll give you my uncensored thoughts on reality TV. I'm not a fan, as you will soon find out. Barbenheimer was a phenomenon. Only saw Oppenheimer. Keeping Barbie for a 4K treat. I'm definitely buying both of those on 4K, which you know now. Tony, that Wicker Man set is getting closer. It is, and I will be getting it, definitely. I don't know which one. There's one that's about £60, and I'm very, very tempted by it. It's got postcards and books and all sorts, and I don't normally bother with things like that. But that one does look like a handsome set, so there's a very good chance I will be taking that one in. Let's see. Hunya Geek is showing. I've been meaning to talk to you guys about this one for ages. Console Wars, first off. I really enjoyed the Console Wars one. A lot of it sort of went whoosh over my head, but I still enjoyed it. It was a subject that, again, I know nothing about, and sometimes when people talk about things, they can seem a little bit out of reach, but you bring them within reach, and I really enjoyed that one. Loved the balls up at the beginning, by the way. You were talking about things that you've been watching. Quantum Leap, the remake. I haven't seen the original series of this, but it's a series that I've been drawn to many times, but never actually got round to taking a look at. So I do need to watch the original series before I start on the remake. And as for dropping all episodes at the same time, or weekly episodes, definitely dropping all episodes at the same time. Nothing winds me up more than coming to the end of an episode, a real good cliffhanger, and you go to drop the next episode and it's like, oh, it's not on there, you've got to wait till next week. So yeah, I say drop them all at the same time. Guy, you talked about Strange New Worlds, the new Star Trek. Really do want to see this. It looks amazing, but I've got this hankering to go right the way back to the beginning and watch the original series followed by the Next Generation. But how long is that going to take me at the rate I watch movies, programs? It's going to take forever. The Big Bang Theory, I think that's one of yours, Callie. To be honest, I never really got it. I've seen little bits of it. It always seems to be on the TV in the canteen at work, and I'll always stop for a couple of minutes and have a look at it, and it seems okay, but I've never really got it. So Venom, Let There Be Carnage, never seen the original, so not sure about that one. Thanks for the shout out, by the way, and you are more than welcome for the nomination. Like you, I'm not shooting for the stars. I'm perfectly happy with this nice, quiet, loyal following that I've got. Rather than having 1,000 subscribers and 999 of them don't actually do anything or watch anything. So I'd rather have the number that I've got, and basically have the brilliant bunch of people that I've got following me on there. So let's see. Space Invaders, that was the console the only one that I had years ago, and somebody bought me this. I'm going to show this very quickly. Look at this. This is a little Space Invaders console that connects to the back of your TV. I've played this many times. I haven't played it recently, but it is literally a complete replica of Space Invaders. You've also got Phoenix on this and about half a dozen others. Somebody bought me this for Christmas one year, and my God, I've never had a present that's wound me up so much. I'd forgotten how crap I was at this game until I played this, but I absolutely love this. So that was the only console I think that I've ever owned, apart from that little tennis one, the bing, 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 that one. I had that one. So The Crow, I'm going to be watching it over the next week or so I'll give you my thoughts on that. I've already grabbed hold of the soundtrack on Spotify. And I've listened to the first one, which I can't remember what it's called. Really, really enjoyed it. But I've got hold of The Crow, and I will be taking a look at it. Really enjoyed the episode on that, by the way. There was a lot of things in there that I didn't know. And yet again, you've persuaded me to watch a movie that normally I would not have bothered with. It just wouldn't have crossed my radar at all. But listening to you guys talking about it, you've enthused me to grab hold of it. So I've got hold of a copy, and I will be watching it, and I shall let you know my thoughts on that. And I think that is pretty much it for this week. Just one thing, the Die Hard Advent Calendar. Do you know what? I'm so tempted by it. You know, you've not... Basically, it's not Christmas until you've seen Hans Gruber falling from the Nakatomi Tower. And now you can watch it for 25 days of December. Because basically he falls one little notch every day. It was a cracking thing. If you've not seen it, take a look. It's on the Facebook page, and my stomach is rumbling something rotten. And I think that is pretty much it for this week. Thanks ever so much, as I say, for giving me all these questions and things to talk about. You've now basically given me the chance to go one episode ahead, which has relieved the most unbelievable amount of pressure from me. So I really do appreciate that. This is being recorded, for what it's worth, this is being recorded on Sunday, is it the 20th? Just bear with me. Yeah, 20th. But I've got everything that I need, so I can schedule this now to drop on Saturday morning, next Saturday morning. And I'll be recording the Sunday service probably this coming Tuesday, and I'll be using all the comments and stuff that you've left me on this video. So right, it's time for me to disappear. So thanks ever so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share and all that sort of stuff. Have a brilliant week, folks, and I will be back again, well, as far as you're concerned, tomorrow. Thanks again, folks. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Ta-da.